W for everyone heading into 2019 as I wear my Roberto Clemente hat here that we do have a WNST Tech service. If there is any breaking news at all in 2019, you're going to want to be on it. It is sponsored by my next guest, this guy, Dennis Koulatsos, over at Coons Ford of Security Boulevard, where have you washed your Lamar Jackson jersey yet? Or are you still wearing it through the week here? Or do you have a dual? Do you have like a white and a purple and a black at this point, then?
You know, it's funny you should ask that. And full disclosure, Nestor, this thing, I've never washed it, and it just jumps on me, right? I just put my arms up in the air, and it just drops, and my wife's starting to complain about it. But you know what? I'm not superstitious at all. But I guess I will have to wash it one of these days, but maybe after the Super Bowl.
February 5th, February 6th, right around there. After the parade, maybe.
Let's just go after the parade, after the confetti has fallen all over my jersey.
You know what? I mean, a parade is a good chance to dress up. You should wash it before the parade.
You know, maybe I'll get a nice, clean white one. I definitely have a purple one. I've got to get a black one. And it was really nice to see a lot of little kids at the stadium sporting a number 8. It was wonderful that a new generation of Ravens fans is blooming and growing right before our very eyes.
Okay, so let me spank these millennials, okay? Dennis, they were cheering when we had the ball, really, really loud, so loud that the entire sideline, the entire offense had to shut them up. Other than Zeus Jr., who sort of grew up into this thing here as a fan with his pop coming out and going to games, and I've had a couple of chats with him about that, I remember back in 1996 we had this problem. Are you familiar with that? I remember being Nasty Nestor on the radio in 1996 screaming at these idiots. I used to say that, "You idiots, what are you doing? Shut up on first down. Shut up on throw. We've got the ball. Shh. Offense at work." Remember that? It was really, really wild and disappointing to some degree. But also now that you've mentioned it like it was a new generation and new fans, there were a lot of people there who might want to come back next year, might want to make a thing of it or whatever, who clearly, Dennis, I'm not being mean, they'd never been to a football game. I saw so many new faces, so many people I didn't recognize in my own section. It was kind of a weird afternoon, I thought. It almost had a preseason feel kind of from how it felt in that way with fans not knowing what's going on. But that's not a bad place for the team to be because they came and they cared. And as Luke said, the traditional know-it-alls, they don't come anymore, as Luke told me.
Well, you know, I took Nestor as a newness, as a refreshing of the team, as a refreshing of the fan base. Now, not to interject politics into this, I'd like to keep them separate. However,
no, but they're not separate. They're not. But they're really not.
Let me weave this thread into this conversation.
Feel free to do so.
I lived in Harford County for 25 years. Harford County is 90% Republican. Right, it's a very conservative demographic. It's a demographic that's got its feelings real hurt with the kneeling. It's time to get past that, folks. Listening out there, you know who you are. Your PSL owners. Either start coming to the games and cheering for this team and supporting this team, or come off of those PSLs, come off of those tickets. Quit waiting for the prices to rise to the point where you're comfortable in getting rid of them. Right now, you're eating tickets, and what's happening, Nestor, is they finally have sold these tickets to the fan base that wants to go there, which is why they didn't know to be quiet when the offense was at work. It's going to take time for this new fan base to develop, to understand the game. So to me, I wasn't offended. I actually liked it that we have the new generation who's willing to embrace this team, warts and all, support them through thick and thin, through all the stormy weather and also the sunny days, and get behind this defense and figure it out. So to me, it was great. Hopefully we'll turn the page. Hopefully in this offseason, like I said, these conservative right-wing guys will come off, and you know who you are because I'm one of them. But you know what? At some point you've got to get past what happened. You have to forgive. You don't have to forget. Get behind this team and be there for all the right reasons. Like all of the 71,000 fans were there yesterday, and I was so happy and proud to be part of that crowd just like you.
Well, it is fascinating because, my Facebook, my Twitter, you know where I stand as a Dundalk Democrat and, sort of famously and, with my chin out. I am what I am, and I can't not authentically be what I've been for 30 years on the radio at this point.
You and I get along famously, right? We're on opposite ends of the political spectrum, but you know what? When it comes to the Ravens, you and I unite. And that's what this is all about. This is what sports brings people together, right? Different creeds and, races and political views. You know what? Let's bring this melting pot together. You're from Dundalk. I'm from Essex. You know what? You're tend to be more liberal. I tend to be more conservative. But when it comes to our Ravens, Nestor, that's stuff that you and I share. That's very precious. It's a very precious bond.
Well, and I would hope that somewhere out there when C.J. Mosley intercepts the ball, he's not that guy that kneeled last year. Because I still sense, I guess I know it to be true, although I do not seek out the argument. You know what I mean? I don't need to be on the internet arguing all day about the knee. I've done enough of that. I don't need to be at the dinner table doing that on Thanksgiving or on the holidays with family either, or on the radio doing that, or even in business doing that. But it has affected the football team, and it's affected how people feel about C.J. Mosley or anyone else who kneeled last year or who didn't kneel, and the empty seats and now the full seats. Tickets were $150, Dan. An hour before game time, I went on to, the secondary market, and the crowd was a really late arriving crowd, right? Like I looked around and I'm like, I know the tickets were $150 a little while ago. And I told this to Don Moeller in my section, and you may find this hard to believe too. Last week, first off, I've eaten about $1,500 in tickets this year, right? And it's literally because I couldn't sell them. I couldn't get $20. I couldn't get $10 for my tickets. So I literally gave them away. And you saw me doing that on Facebook on game days and whatnot. And last week I went on to see where the market was for the Browns game because I had already promised my 2 tickets to a friend. My tickets were gone. I sold them for $50. I could have sold them for $150. But so I went online, and in my section in 513, there were no tickets on the secondary market. 0. No one in my section sold tickets. 0. And when I turned around at the game this week and I looked up, my section was fully purple. There was not one Browns fan in section 513. And yet around the stadium, when the Browns did good things, you saw a sort of a few little pop-up orange, things happening around the stadium. But it was a fascinating crowd. And then the other part of it, with the game going down to the line, everyone was in their seat. The energy I felt just walking down to the locker room as people left the stadium, it was really cool, man. It gave me the chill bumps and made the hair on my neck. And down in the locker room to see Lamar and to see C.J. Mosley, there was a lot of excitement down there that's been missing. It was like that Christmas feeling that you haven't had in a long time, Yeah,
no doubt about it. I'm in section 525 in the upper deck. We were loud and proud like you. I was at kickoff. I was disappointed. I saw a lot of empty seats, but you're right. It was a late arriving crowd. There were lines outside of the stadium. We got there, I thought, early enough, but we stood in line for about 15 minutes to get in. We barely made kickoff. I couldn't believe it.
Hey, Dan, how about this? As I'm walking up, I saw 5 men bringing purses, okay, to cars because their wives didn't know they couldn't take a person. You know what I mean? Like they don't even know the clear bag rules because these people, clearly there were 40,000 people in that stadium who either had never been to a Ravens game or certainly didn't regularly attend Ravens games, right?
Yeah, no doubt about it. And I think it's very, very good that they did that. Like I said, I like the newness of the crowd. And the other thing was the energy, the enthusiasm. Maybe they didn't know what to do, but they were great followers. In the fourth quarter, our entire section was standing up. I mean, when the defense was on the field, we were all on our feet, and that hasn't happened in years, Nestor. So the passion, the enthusiasm. So you know what? I will take enthusiastic ignorance over, the other, whatever the opposite of that is, right? The like you said, knowing what to do. What is it? Experience on ice is terrible, right? Versus enthusiasm without experience. So to me, give me the freshness. There was a guy in front of me with 3 young sons that were probably from 6 to 10, all wearing number 8 jerseys. High-five the boys the entire game. It was just such a festive atmosphere. I had my entire family with me, and it was just wonderful. And of course, the 12th man was a factor in the fourth quarter, particularly in that final 2 minutes and the final drive of the Browns.
Well, I think what Luke said, that the loyal and knowledgeable part of the fan base stopped showing up, like literally, right? So
I'm glad. You know what? I'm glad. And you know what? And quit showing up and sell your damn tickets. That's my directive to the fan base that doesn't show up, that's sitting on those tickets. Give them up. Give them to people. Sell them to people who are actually going to go there, who care, who've gotten over things, or maybe they were never mad to begin with, right? But whatever they're mad about, you can stay mad, right? It's their choice. I respect that, but don't take it out on the team.
Dennis Koulatsos is here. He's over at Coots Florida Security Boulevard. He's selling cars into 2019. How many 18s do you have left as we enter 19, right? Because that's a number you probably know every year.
Way too many, which is great news, right? We have way too many. Our customers know this. Customers out of state, all over the U.S. know this, so it's not a secret. And we've got a discount like nobody's business, and deep discounts. The incentives are over in a few days. Now is the very best time to buy 2018. You know, I know, they know. I don't want these vehicles on my lot for another second. They're costing me money, and I'd rather move the money and save people thousands of dollars than have them sitting here on my lot.
Got any purple cars over there?
No, but we can paint one purple. That's not a problem. We can put your favorite jersey number on there, too. We can make them number 8 or 57 or whatever you want them to make. But it's just a glorious time to be a Ford dealer and also a Ravens fan. It's just wonderful stuff for the community. You can feel the civic pride. Everybody's jacked up like nobody's business. This is a wonderful time of the year, Nestor.
By the way, I really appreciated your political rant. I like to see the feisty in you come out and all this, but we've done 11 minutes on the crowd and who showed up and who didn't and what the environment was like. Let's get on to the field, because I know that's where you want to go with X's and O's. And, hey, if you keep it up, maybe the Raiders will hire you as a GM. I mean, Mike Mayock did it, right?
Look, money talks, and I like to get that Gruden deal. I like to get $100 million over 10 years, right? That's talk about playing with house money. You can do no wrong, and if they fire you, they owe you a ton of money. And Mayock, look, he was able to parlay his knowledge into a general manager's position, so why not?
Well, we all like to manage something generally. I guess
look, I'm just trying to manage myself at this point.
Tail is wagging the dog, I think, is what's going on for the Las Vegas Raiders. Speaking of bandit franchises and bandit ownership families, here come the Spanoses, and here come the Phillip Riverses, and here come the Bolts, and here comes Antonio Gates. And, we talk about what we went out there and did to them and pulled their pants down before Christmas and beat them up in their own place. I would think that probably hasn't settled well, and all week long we'll be talking about what the temperature and the weather and 10 a.m. West Coast. This team's played 16 games on the road this year, right? And I would think the things that Eric Weddle and this defense did to confound Phillip Rivers 2 weeks ago will not be taken lightly by him this week. They have been the better team most of the year. They were not the better team 2 weeks ago. This is a fascinating matchup amidst, quite frankly, Dennis, a whole roster of fascinating matchups this week. We'll be watching that Indianapolis-Houston game. That's going to affect where we go. And I said on the internet right in the aftermath, I said, hey, I want to do a bus trip to New England next week. People are like, hey, dumbass, it won't be New England. It's going to be Kansas City. I'm like, no. If the Colts go to Houston and win, and from what I saw on Sunday night, I wouldn't bet against them at this point that they couldn't go down there and win. We could be going to New England, but the early game's interesting. But we drew the Chargers and not the Chiefs, but we might draw the Chiefs next week. This is a fascinating tournament to talk about these teams because, I'll give the Chiefs and let's say the Saints and the Rams a little bit of a nod. Watch out for the Bears. Beware the Eagles. Beware the Ravens. Beware Andrew Luck right now. This is a very dangerous tournament all the way around. I think it's a very open tournament.
Yeah, to your point, it's a very wide open tournament. Certainly any team that gets hot can rise up above the pack, and teams that run the ball well and teams with great defenses like the Ravens and the Bears can certainly make noise in the playoffs. The Seahawks, another dark horse candidate from the NFC division, and the NFC conference, if you will. But the matchup against the Chargers doesn't scare me, certainly doesn't scare the Ravens. Phillip Rivers put it out there after the loss. He said, look, I'd like to see them again. Well, Phillip, be careful of what you wish for because you just might get it, and you're going to get it. Clearly, the Ravens can play with anyone, including the Chargers. Nestor, the 121 yards in the first half rushing against the Browns was a real eye-opener. Phillip Rivers doesn't play defense, right? So time of possession, the formula is the same. If Phillip thinks that he's going to see the same looks from Wink Martindale's defense this time around, he's got another thing coming. They'll switch things up to keep things fresh to confuse him and that Chargers offense. And look, would I rather have this game on their home field in Carson, California, or at M&T Bank Stadium? I'll take our defense backed by this crowd against anyone at M&T Bank Stadium. The matchup doesn't scare me. I don't expect to see much different. In fact, I feel more confident playing the Chargers this time around than I did the last time when we traveled out to the left coast.
You know what? We talk so much about the crowd and the environment and all that, and I go to all the games. The only game I didn't go to was Kansas City because I was off with Tony Robbins trying to become a better human being. And the crowds this year, home and away, have been so uninspiring. The event of going, and I know you watch some games on television as well on your big screen, and the last 2 weeks from Carson, and I would have felt that way had I gone to Kansas City. I didn't. I mean, I felt that electricity the way you've talked about it the last couple of weeks through the television set down in Florida. I was watching the game and tweeting, and I had a very unique experience with that game and a very memorable experience that day that they played in Kansas City. But the crowd thing, there's nothing like it, right? It's why we it's why we like sports. It's why we feel what we feel. There's an emotion about being at the concert that's different than watching it at home on television, right? And when you get that electricity, and man, Carson had it, Dennis. I mean, that little building was rocking. It was raucous. It sounded like a soccer pitch in Europe. And our stadium hasn't sounded like that in so long. And I think, when I talked to Alan McCallum about Delman Young and the double with the Orioles, that the sound that the stadium made that day, it's something that when you hear Eddie, right? Like there are these anchors that you hear, and the only place you can get that crowd noise, unless you're in a Disney ride and they can fake it for you, is to actually be in it. And I think there's part of that and part of leaving the stadium with your son as you did, that it creates something that I don't know what else there is. Sadly, there's no church. There is no religion. There is no group gatherings. There's nothing that's like it. And it takes people to make it happen, right?
Yeah, you can't create those images, those magic moments in the comfort of your home. Yes, there are benefits of staying at home and watching the game on your big screen, and everybody can make excuses as to why they're not going to make their way out to the stadium, but you're not going to get, as you mentioned, an in-game experience. You're not going to get all the high-fiving with all the other lunatics and maniacs in your section. You're not going to meet new people. You're not going to interact. And, as we always say, in 5 years from now, we're all going to be the same as we are today, except for the books that we read and the people that we meet. And you actually meet a lot of great people at these Ravens games. You have something in common that you share. The camaraderie, the highs, the lows, the painful losses.
You know what? We had all different people sitting with us this week, and every one of them was kind of cool and fun. That is something interesting, because I always sat with the same people, right? I mean, going to a Ravens game was like going to church. There was the same people around you every week. You got to know the people around you for better or for worse, right? But there was a different environment, and you do meet. There are new people to meet. That's a heck of a way of looking at it, Dan.
It is. I'm very active on Twitter, as you are, and I have friends now from all over the country that have bought playoff tickets, that are flying in next weekend. I'm going to host them at a tailgate, get to meet them firsthand, so I'll get to put a real face with a picture on Twitter and all the texts and back and forth. And I'm really looking forward to connecting with these people on a whole different level. It's great to have friends all over the country.
I had a guy this morning watching Luke and I from Melbourne, Australia. And he insisted that I give him a shout-out. So shout out to Tommy in Melbourne, Australia. See, WNST. Remember when my signal wasn't going to go past Towson? Remember that then?
Hey, the world's gotten smaller, and it definitely has benefited the great stations like WNST. And, again, to your point, we have the fan bases all over the world. We have Scottish Ravens. We have people everywhere.
West Wing? Oh, the big West Wing came out last week.
West Wing is huge. And so what? A lot of these people are flying in, man. And you know what? God willing, they'll be able to fly into Atlanta, Georgia, too. That would be awesome to have everybody meet there, just like we did back in 2012 in New Orleans.
You get me all fired up, and I'm embarrassed to say I really don't even know where my purple Festivus lights are, the rope lights that we all bought 15 years ago. They don't really look purple. They look a little more pink probably on the camera. But I'm going to try to dig them up in the next 24, 48 hours for 2019 and have my wife string up the studio in here with some traditional I do have a purple Christmas tree, so maybe I could put that on top of the leg lamp or something. But when the Ravens win and I get to wear purple, I sort of want to decorate. I want the place to light up a little bit.
Well, you know what, you feel in the spirit, and so is everybody else. And I'm just so very happy for the town the city of Baltimore, all of its great loyal fans, all of the new fans that are coming in, all of the young people who are now getting a taste of what us older fellas now as we age and we are able to pass down our wisdom, our perspective, things that we've seen back in 2000, back in 2012, back to 1996, back to 1983, Nestor.
Whoa, hold on. Lenny Moore, Dick Szymanski, all those guys were at the game, 1958, right?
Yeah.
There was a little piece of my dad at the game on Sunday, right?
Incredible. Now I'm getting chicken skin when you start talking like that, Nestor. It's great stuff, right?
See?
And if you're not there, you're not going to experience that firsthand. You're not going to be able to stand up in your seats and play and pay your respects to these great NFL legends.
Den, take care, towel off. I will join you on Thursday in the new year. Happy New Year to you and everyone over Coons Ford, Security Boulevard, your family, Courts, Margo, everybody. And always appreciate your support. And I guess this is what it's all about. We get to play a home playoff game at 1 o'clock against the San Diego Chargers. Who can complain about that?
No one, Nestor. Thanks again for everything, and Happy New Year to you and your beautiful family, our NST family, extended family out there, local, global, and worldwide. Happy New Year to everyone.
It'll be a Happy New Year if they don't wear their pajamas in the game on Sunday, but we'll argue about that on Thursday, okay? That's a fashion tweet. I'll leave that to Luke Jones and the kids.
Looking forward to it. You got it. Thanks a lot.
Purple and black like that, it was so Northwestern. I mean, I'm not going to complain about the outcome, but my God, don't wear your pajamas to a playoff game. Nasty at WNST.net finds me. Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Snapchat, Instagram, streaming live on our Facebook, as well as our YouTube WNSTV channel. And don't forget to sign up for our WNST text service. It is all brought to you by Coons Ford of Security Boulevard. Dennis will be here on Thursday from 3 until 5. I usually join him right around 4:15, 4:30. Hope to see you there as well. Luke's going to be out at Owings Mills all week long. If there is any breaking news, you will get it first on the WNST text service. I am Nestor. We are WNST.net, AM 1570 at WNST Towson, Baltimore. And we never stop talking Baltimore sports.